This is a lesson on recognizing and translating hypothetical situations in the Bible text. What is a hypothetical situation? A hypothetical situation is a possible scenario which could have happened in the past or can happen in the present or future. This situation may or may not actually be true. It could possibly happen or it may never happen. A hypothetical situation might mean asking a what if question. It might be a suppose or if only statement. The value of a what if or suppose or if only scenario is that it helps the reader understand spiritual teaching through practical examples. For this reason, hypothetical situations are good teaching tools. Jesus often used them in his teaching. Consider a hypothetical situation that would never happen. In Luke chapter 18, verse 25, Jesus was teaching his disciples about how being rich can make it hard to enter God's kingdom. To emphasize this, he said that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to submit to God's rule in their life. The hypothetical part of this is that a large camel could never squeeze through a very small sewing needle. Jesus used this hypothetical scenario to emphasize his teaching point. Please pause the video and consider how your language would express a situation that would never happen. Now consider a supposed scenario that could possibly happen. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 11, Jesus was pointing out to the religious leaders that they were not being honest when they judged the people for working on the Sabbath day. He told them, "Suppose one of you has a sheep and it falls into a deep hole on the Sabbath day. Certainly you would work to pull it out of the hole." Jesus wasn't talking about a specific person who did this. Rather, he was talking about a true and possible situation which could and often did happen. Please pause the video and consider how you would communicate a supposed scenario that could happen right now. An example of a future hypothetical situation is found in Luke chapter 17, verse 34. Jesus says that when he returns, 2 women will be working beside each other, and one will be taken while the other one will be left behind. This is a hypothetical scenario because Jesus isn't talking about specific women who will do this, but rather he is talking about a general situation that could possibly happen in the future. Please pause the video and consider how you would say this sentence in your language. The following is an example of a hypothetical scenario in the past. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 21, Jesus said that if the people living in the ancient cities of Tyre and Sidon had been able to see the miracles that he, Jesus, performed, they would have repented long ago. This is a hypothetical situation that we know did not happen. Jesus was making the spiritual teaching point of what if these people had seen the miracles. If they had seen the miracles, then they would have repented. Please pause the video and consider if you have a special way of indicating a hypothetical situation in the past. Sometimes a hypothetical situation expresses an emotion, such as regret. For example, consider this sentence: "If only I had fed the dog, then he would not have chewed my shoes and ruined them." It is true that the dog chewed and consequently ruined the shoes. It is implied that the person is feeling the emotion of regret. The hypothetical part of this scenario is the assumption that since the dog did not get fed, that is the reason for his chewing on the shoes. Please pause the video and think how your language expresses an if only or I wish scenario, which also implies some emotion. An example of a biblical hypothetical situation that expresses emotions would be when Job, in his suffering, says, "I wish that I had died before I was born." Job chapter 10, verse 18. Since Job did not die before he was born, this is a hypothetical scenario. However, his feelings of depression, pain, and suffering were very real. Please pause the video and think how you would say this sentence in your language. In review, it is important in translation to be able to recognize a hypothetical situation in the text and use appropriate words or phrases. You may need to show that the situation is in the past, present, or future. The possible scenario might be true or not likely to be true. The situation could possibly happen or would never happen. Hypothetical situations may or may not imply emotions or reason. Some hypothetical statements may use expressions such as what if, suppose, or if only to help the reader understand the spiritual teachings. Perhaps your language uses special wording or specific language structures to communicate each of these things. At all times, remember, keep the translation clear, accurate, and natural to the meaning. This concludes the lesson on how to recognize and translate hypothetical situations.